everybody, it's Emily, and I'm going to be talking about the books I've read so far in the month of November. They're a decent number, so I'm just going to jump straight in. I started with some graphic novels that were just the epitome of fall, including Pumpkin Heads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks, and this was so precious. I really enjoyed this. This is the story of Deja and Josiah, and they call themselves seasonal best friends. They work at a pumpkin patch, and this is their senior year, the last night of the last night that the pumpkin patch is open, and so it's them trying to just live their life to the fullest the last night of the pumpkin patch. And I thoroughly enjoyed this. I've heard some criticism of people saying that there wasn't a ton of plot, but I really wasn't expecting there to be much since it's a not terribly long graphic novel. I mean, there's just not a lot of space to have like a fully in-depth plot and a lot going on. I mean, it's a pretty simple story, but what really carried it for me was my love for Deja. I mean, she is just hilarious. She is so funny, and she had so many great moments in this, and the dynamic between the two of them is just so precious. And yeah, that really was all I was expecting, was just fall vibes and a precious story that made me laugh and smile, and that's exactly what I got. I literally was laughing out loud in the coffee shop when I was reading this, and that's really all I wanted from this and could expect from it, and that's what I got. So I was really, really happy. I can definitely see myself rereading this in fall just to kind of get in the mood and get in the spirit, and yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I also read Moon Cakes, and this is by Wendy Xu and Suzanne Walker, and this follows a witch and a werewolf who is non-binary, and this also was just a precious story. I really love the two of them so much. She also uses a hearing aid, which was another really, really great aspect to this, and she lives with her, so her grandmothers are two women in a relationship, and she lives with them, which was another, there was just so much great representation in this story, and it was precious, and I didn't really know what to expect as far as the plot. I hadn't really heard much. I really just had only heard kind of the characters and the relationship between them going into this, so I didn't really know what to expect for the plot, but it was so much fun, and it centers around werewolf magic and witchery and them trying to protect the people they love, and it was so great. It was so great, and I also really loved the art style in this, and it was just thoroughly enjoyable from start to finish. So would recommend as a fun witchy graphic novel to read around Halloween to get in the mood. I also listened to the audiobook for the third and final book in the Wayfarer series, Record of a Spaceborne Few. This is by Becky Chambers, and the first two are The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet and A Close and Common Orbit. And this one actually follows, so in the first one we're following, it's quite a few characters, but they're a crew that work together. In the second one, we're not really actually following a ton of characters, but we're kind of going a little bit more in depth into those characters and their backstory. In this one, we actually follow quite a few different perspectives that they do kind of weave together in some really interesting ways, but it is also just kind of a taste for what life is like in this world. And, there are definitely some themes that run through this that tie these characters together and tie the plot together, and, why they're kind of interacting in some of the same spaces or with some of the same characters, or kind of how they interrelate. But this was the one that followed the most characters and had kind of not really the most meandering plot, but it definitely, you were following very different parts of this world. So that was really interesting and a little bit different than some of the past books, but I enjoyed it no less than I did the past books. One, the audiobook is still fantastic, and I love the narrator, and I still, her character work is just masterful, and so you just fall in love with all of the characters so quickly, and you care about their lives so quickly, and so yeah, this was a very emotional book too, and yeah, it made me think, as all of her books do. They're incredibly crafted social commentary. They make you think, they make you smile, they make you just, they made me emotional anyway. So would recommend continuing on in the series. I loved each and every one of them so much. So I also mentioned the first book in this series in my last wrap up. I actually have it right here. So I listened to this one towards the end of October, and I continued on in the series because I was so entertained. So I listened to the Ladies' Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, which follows Monty's sister Felicity. I love Felicity. She's one of my new favorite characters. I love her so much. There was so much in this book that I wanted to underline and annotate, and so I really want to get a physical copy of it and reread it at some point and annotate it as I do, because there were so many gems in this book. And I really, really loved how much Mackenzie Lee was able to weave into this book about a woman in England in, the 1800s, and her coming across, also, as the title suggests, she comes across different pirates, and she's trying to, she's basically trying to follow her passion, which is medicine, and I love her dedication to her passion. I really liked so it's not necessarily on page asexual representation necessarily, but she kind of talks about her just lack of desire to engage in romantic relationships with other people, and she's kind of exploring those feelings, but really she's just focused on wanting to be a doctor in a world that will not let women into medical training facilities or hospitals to be doctors. And so it's her trying to follow that passion, and that's really her focus, and she really hasn't focused on trying to find romantic connections or really anything else. And I just kind of really admire that about her character, and really love that representation in this story. And oh god, Felicity is just fantastic. And following her and her crazy adventure through this story was just so entertaining, just like the first one was. I still love the writing style, and you get to see her brothers too throughout the story, which is a lot of fun to see them again. But I can't even say anything more about this story. I loved everything about it. I really, really did. I loved everything about it. And the audiobook was, as I said, was fantastic. So yeah, I'm excited. I think there's a third one coming out. I think there's a novella in this world that I need to read, but I think there's also another one coming out later next year, maybe summer next year, that's in this series. And so I'm definitely stoked to pick that up and to read the novella. And I should see if I can get a hold of that. Maybe it's in my library, and get a hold of that sometime soon, because I love her writing. I love her character work. I love just how seamlessly she integrates really, really interesting and thought-provoking stuff into these stories that are just immensely entertaining. I also listened to And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, and this one was also really enjoyable. I have come to find that in thrillers and mysteries, I really am gravitated towards stories that involve a small cast of characters that are in confined spaces, and creepy stuff starts happening or scary stuff starts happening, and they need to find a way out or find a way to escape. I love those stories. So this is kind of in the same vein as another Agatha Christie, Murder on the Orient Express, No Exit by Taylor Adams, Lock Every Door by Riley Sager, Turn the Key by Ruth Ware. So it's kind of in those vein of stories where there are a bunch of characters that are trapped and confined. And in this case, it follows 10 people who, for various reasons, have found themselves on this island, and ultimately find themselves trapped on this island. And they realize once they get there that they're being targeted, and that they are all being accused of murder, and that they are in turn on that island to confront the crimes that they have committed, or the things that they've done. Like the things in their past are kind of catching up with them. And they realize that that's why they're all on this island, that they've all been lured there under false pretenses to answer for things they've done in their past. And it was really interesting. I listened to the audiobook for this one, and it was just entertaining. It was a pretty short read. I think the audiobook was maybe 6 hours or so. So it was pretty short. It was really entertaining. I love Agatha Christie's writing style. This is only the second thing I've read from her, but I really like her writing style. And yeah, I don't know, there's really not much more to say that isn't spoilery, but I was really entertained, and I thought this group of people were really interesting, and the secrets they were keeping and the way they were revealed was pretty interesting, and I just love the way she crafted this novel. So that was fun. And the last thing that I've read so far in November is the Tea Dragon Festival by Katie O'Neill. So this follows the Tea Dragon Society. This is actually kind of a companion thing to the Tea Dragon Society. And it's actually a bit thicker than the Tea Dragon Society. It's about twice as long as the Tea Dragon Society. And yeah, this just follows the same world of tea dragons and community and family, and how welcoming. I love the characters. So this follows the events preceding a Tea Dragon Festival, and this character has kind of been asleep for a while, but is supposed to be the protector of a certain group of people, and she is part of this group of people. And it talks about the relationship between them, and really just kind of deals with community and family and being welcomed, and yeah, just taking care of the people around you. And it's just a precious story. Of course, the art is stunning and beautiful, and it is just something I will turn to again and again when I just need something to make me smile, as is the Tea Dragon Society. They both just made me smile and are just so precious, and just precious stories about belonging, and yeah, as I said, just taking care of the people around you. So yeah, there's not much else to say. Just read it. Just read it. It's wonderful. I'll read it many times, I can tell. So those are the stories I've read so far in the month of November. I'll be sure to link my Twitter and Instagram down below. That's where I like to hang out, and be sure to subscribe. I'll also link my climate channel down below, so subscribe to that if you're interested, and I'll see you in the next one.